Alright, welcome back to another Crabby Dice talks and rants and all that stuff about Kickstarter crowdfunding campaigns. For this one, we're only going to be covering one game because there's a lot to talk about and it is a longer video, and I just really want to push this out because it was only a 10-day campaign. Alright, so this, if you haven't watched one of my videos, is my complete subjective take and what my thoughts are on the campaign. Feel free to write me down below if you agree with me, don't agree with me, thumbs up, thumbs down, all that wonderful stuff. Please subscribe to my channel. Before we start, let's get started. All right, here we go. So let's talk about Burncycle from Chip Theory Games. This is going to be a interesting discussion. I got a lot to say. So write in the comments below if you agree with me, don't agree with me, thumbs up, thumbs down, all that stuff. So let's talk about who's making the game. The creators here first. They're the guys from the last two mega hits on Kickstarter, Too Many Bones and Cloudspire. They made millions of dollars, both very sought after games, really high quality. It gained them a lot of positive, let's say, collateral for all their future products. A lot of people are just gonna back their games no matter what, just by having that company making it. So, but that's that's par for the course. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what Kickstarter is for. You make great games. We're looking forward to your next great game. All right, so that's good. So now let's talk about the theme. I'm going to give you a very quick synopsis here. You play robots, you're being subjugated by humans. Great theme, I like it. What you need to do is you can have missions at the start, which is to infiltrate a CEO/corporation, which is basically going through 3 levels of the corporation building to do some mission on the 3rd floor. It sort of reminds me a bit like Burgo Bros. I think Burgo Bros was sort of the same thing where you have to go up 3 levels, but this is obviously a much more complicated version of that. So also what I love about the theme, all right, is the whole infiltration aspect where you're not actually fighting anything. It's not a combat game, which is great. We don't need everything or every co-op game to be a fighty game. It seems like all we're getting are fighting games. So this one switches it up a bit. You're trying to sneak around and be more stealthy and play a more puzzly style game, which is really 2 thumbs up in my book. All right, so that's good. All right, but all that being said, I think I want to tackle my first complaint first, or my first rant at the start here. I know there's a lot of people complained about this, so I'm not the first one to mention it. Why is this a 10-day campaign? This is literally unheard of in Kickstarter. Almost nothing is under 20 days now, let alone I think most games are like 30. We've seen, like, over the last 2 months, I've seen multiple 40-day campaigns. I mean, 10 days is not a lot of time to make a decision. Now, it would be okay. My second rant. All right, follow me. My second complaint is, if you were gonna make it a 10-day campaign, I would expect you to show me a page that resembled something like Claustrophobia 16, whatever that game was called, where it was literally a finished product and you're just using it as a pre-order system and saying, look, it's done, we're gonna put this on for 10 days, get it if you want, and that's it. All right, those are what 10-day campaigns are for. Don't give me a 10-day campaign when it was clear that most of the game is still in development. A lot of the art's not done. People didn't get their videos out. Okay, I'll just give you examples. The art when this page came out all looked like this. It all looked like it came out of Microsoft Paint using, stills they got from the internet, and it looked horrible. And then their first update is, no, don't look at any of this art. So all their videos, all their pictures and everything use this art, and they're like, don't look at this art, we're working on the art and it's gonna look like this. All right. For one thing, again, it's pretty much unheard of to use clip art in your campaigns and then tell us there's an update that, don't worry, the art's gonna look fine. All right, this wouldn't work for any other company in existence. All right, even if Simon came out with a game and it looked like garbage, people wouldn't back their game, even though they said, don't trust us, the art's gonna be fine. All right, so that's not good. Second thing, the previewers, reviewers looking at this game didn't even get their videos out until like day 5, 6. I think Paul Grogan's getting his video out tomorrow or something, with like 3 days to go. There's no rule book on the page. Like, these are some of the standard things that should be on the page on day 1. All right, I learned more from the rulebook. I didn't want to go through 19 paragraphs of how to play, 6 different videos. It was so hard to understand how to play when I could just, read a rulebook, because I understand more by going through a rulebook than I do watching 6 different videos. All right, there's missing information. I don't know if the game changes from level 2 and 3. Nobody knows. There's no videos. There's no rulebook. I don't know what the hell changes. I don't know how the game scales. There's no information on that. What I say, okay, I'm just gonna make a blanket statement here. I get it that Kickstarter is not to get a final product. Right, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there are some standard things that you need to deliver, and you sort of even recognize it because you're sort of posting it into your campaign 4 or 5 days into the campaign. You could have easily just delayed this product a month, get your ducks in a line, get all that stuff on day 1 on your page, make it look amazing with all that new art. You would have passed $1 million in funding if all your ducks were in a line and everything was up to snuff. All right, the way there's too much changes still going on. There's a lot of in the videos, oh, we're changing this, we're changing that. Even the art on this network board has changed since the start of this campaign. Now the chips go at the bottom instead of the. There's too much fluctuation for me to be comfortable into backing this. All right, that's my blanket statement, what I'm going to say. But that being said, you might be very excited about this game. So let's talk about it, all right? Because there's 4 days to go, and let's do it. All right, so let's talk about one of the very positive things, like usual, for Chip Theory Games, is the value of the product. All right, it's sort of out of this world. They're like Apple. They try to use the best material and push the most prestigious, deluxe version that they possibly can, and it's actually not that expensive. So you're gonna get a ton of cards here. You get about I think it was 150 to 200 cards, high quality cards. You get a lot of chips. You don't get as many chips as some of their other games. That's because each of the chips in this game are actually not blank. I mean, in a lot of their other games, you're getting a lot of health chips and a lot of status chips that are just blank and don't actually have anything printed on. But each one in this game has something meaningful on it, which is great. You do get a ton of dice. I mean, heat transfer dice are not cheap. You get about 50 of them, which is great. And again, at the start of this campaign, all these pieces of felt mats over here, they were all this garbage art, and now they actually made it look a bit nicer. So again, but you do get a ton of these mats, which is great. A lot of high quality, high value things. You can see over here the network mat has changed since the beginning. It looks actually, I'm not a fan of the art and the styling of this, but you still get a massive network mat here. You do get a massive corporation mat. I mean, just this corporation mat in other projects would just be a $25, $30 value on its own, and this one is thrown into the base game, which is fantastic. So overall, for 115 bucks, definitely worth it. I mean, their MO is they're always pushing a really high quality deluxe product, and it's really worth it for 150. Now, if I were you and you are interested in this game, I would definitely get the gameplay bundle, which includes the 2 add-ons. There's 2 reasons for that. You are going to save $20 more overall. But the second reason is because this first robot add-on, there's almost nothing in this box, and it's 15 bucks. So it's really expensive, but you're almost getting it free by getting the bundle, so it's not that bad. It's 4 chits and 4 cards and 4 tokens, so it's almost nothing in this. But you get 12 pieces of tokens in the box for 15 bucks. It's not a lot, okay? So keep that in mind. You don't want to pay 15 bucks for this on their web store after. You're gonna feel like you're getting ripped off. All right. The part that's more worth it though is the extra corporation. I would get this no matter what. Corporations add a much needed variety to the game. You sort of, every gameplay you're going to pick a different corporation, which give you different missions, different layout of the maps. They all act a bit different, so it adds a ton of variety. So this is almost like an auto include, and this I would even get if it was on their web store for 30 bucks. All right, really worth it, and I would definitely get it. All right, so that's what I would get if I were you. Now, before we talk about the add-ons, I just want to take 2 seconds to just talk about long-term value for Chip Theory Games products. Okay, now, as much as deluxeified of a product they offer, there is a cap on the amount you'll be able to sell this after the campaign and when you get your game. All right, there will be a 6 month to a year window where you might be able to sell for much more than you backed it for. But the problem is all of Chip Theory games come out at their web store afterwards at the MSRP prices that you see. So you know for sure, at the very least, a year after this campaign is delivered and the web store has it, it's going to be there for 130 bucks. I mean, regular retail is not going to be able to get this game. So you know for sure the most you'll ever be able to sell this game for is 130 bucks. All right, just keep that in mind. It's not going to be a game where it's going to be like super rare because it was only on one Kickstarter, like that Blood Rage stuff, whatever, because you would be able to get it for 130. So, but what I'm going to say is at the very least, you'll at least, no matter what, make back your money, if not 130 bucks as well, because you'll probably work out a free shipping thing with whoever you're trading it with. But yeah, so it's good and bad. You'll definitely always make back your money, but it's bad also because you're gonna sort of have a cap. All right, but don't worry about that. That's good. It's especially good if you're getting the gameplay bundle. Then you'll be able to definitely trade this for at least 170 bucks or sell it for 170 even 3 years down the line. Because if somebody wants it, well, they would have to pay more than what you're selling it to them. All right, so just as a sort of general concept. All right, another reason I say that is because Chip Theory games don't have Kickstarter exclusives ever, so it's not as if this campaign is going to have extra cards or tokens or anything that you won't be able to get later on as well. All right, so let's just spend 2 seconds here to look at the other add-ons. Okay, this is kind of funny. You could get 20 brass, which are metal mechs, for $75. Kind of on the expensive side, but if you really want to pimp out your game and make it super deluxe, go for it. I guess it's worth it. I don't know the prices of metal minis. Seems like an expensive product. They are gonna have this cool like magnet on the board, so you can sort of put your magnets on the chits and move the poker chit by moving the guy on top, so that the chip would stick with him. So that's pretty cool concept. So that's cool. I would recommend never to get the lower stuff that's just $35 for a book, whatever. There's a deluxe draw bag, which is also really expensive. You do get a really expensive play mat. These play mats in other projects are like 30 bucks. I mean, you are getting it is stitched all around, so that's great. But it is a $50 MSRP. So you're only saving $5 off their web store. For $5, honestly, I just wait if you really want it afterwards. And again, art is not final. Deals with my first rant at the start, at the top there. Or you can get extra dice. I mean, this pretty much is only useful if you're playing maybe a 4-player game constantly. I saw a bunch of the 2-player playthroughs. They were never really close to running out of dice. But if you are playing 4 players, look into extra dice. Like most dungeon crawly type games where you actually get extra dice if you're more players. Sort of the same concept. Alright, so there's my sort of synopsis on the value. Great value for what you get in the box. Long-term value is sort of a mixed bag. So now let's talk about gameplay. Alright, sorry, one last thing about value before we move on. They are subsidizing only the shipping to the States, so you could almost think of it like an extra like $10, $15, $20 savings if you're in the States compared to everyone else in the world. Also, if you're in Europe, they are charging a VAT, so keep that in mind. It's actually going to eat into your savings quite a bit. Alright, so now let's talk about gameplay, and we're going to be stuck on this image because pretty much the only image showing you the full board on this whole page, and let's just talk about it. Okay, so I already mentioned it at the start here. What are we going to be doing? We're infiltrating this base, but how are we doing it? Alright, so sort of a movement on a grid type of game. What's going to happen as the start of every round, you're going to have these, I don't know if you can see it here, these 5 chits that you're placing on the board next to the network board. You're going to populate it with the different action discs that you have in the bag. There's some strategy in how you get these chips in the bag, which is a great thing. I won't really talk about it, but there are some strategic elements in what chits go in, and you'll get to pull out 3 special ones afterwards to do things with. I'm not going to go into too much detail on how that works, but it's a pretty cool mechanism. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be doing just an action on each of these 3 chits. But if your action ties to the bonus from that chit, you're actually going to get like a special bonus. Like if you're moving and you do it on a movement chit, you're going to get +2 as a movement. If you use the tech action with the tech, you bypass some of the security elements and so on and so on. So a really good mechanism. I really enjoy it. It seems like a standout feature for the game. Also, you get to decide when the burn cycle resets. What happens is when you work all the way down, you're going to flip over one of the tiles, and then you're going to work there your way down again until you decide to sort of take all the tiles out, shuffle them all back together, and reset a new burn cycle. All right, so awesome mechanism there. Some of the other standout features here. I really love the way the guards work in this game, the area of influence and default movement. It adds to the puzzly nature of the game. You sort of know where the guards are going to be and what they can see, so you sort of can plan a lot of the game and make it seem more of a puzzle. I am going to say it is good for me. It could, a subjective take here. This seems more like a puzzly game because a lot of what happens from the game point of view is standard. There's not a lot of dice rolling going on. It's not like somebody's attacking you. You have to roll some dice and see against defense and all that stuff. Things are going to happen according to what they're supposed to, according to what's going to happen. All right. If a guard sees you, he has standard points of interest. He's going to go to the where somebody was last seen to see if you're still there, and if you're still there, he'll just attack you for a standard amount of damage. So it is very puzzly in that sense, and I really enjoy that. Okay, I think another standout feature here is the core power system. All right, so all the robots, the ones you're controlling, even your little transmitter, you're all collecting power, and power stands for a lot of things. All right, so it's almost like like multi-card use thing, where one thing could stand for many things. So it's your defense, so every time you take hits you're losing power, but also it's your dice pool. So your standard dice pool is also how much power you have, but also you need to spend power. It's almost like your XP. So every turn you're making a decision. Should I spend some of my XP to get this awesome ability, but then my dice pool is going down, so my future actions are going to be less powerful until I get more power. So plus I gotta wage my defense also. If we're going gun-ho into a certain area and I'm gonna get hit, maybe I need more power as defense. So a ton of decisions going into just that one mechanism. Awesome. Okay, and I think the last great thing I have to mention here is the whole game length of the game. I believe it's gonna last between 30 minutes and 3 hours, depending, again, player count or whatever. And the reason I say 30 minutes because you can sort of not even reach the second level, or you're gonna reach the second level and get screwed over or die, so you're gonna just have to reset. So really it depends how good you are in the game, how far you're gonna get. But if you do get all the way to the 3rd floor and get to the CEO and all that, it should take you about 3 hours, probably faster. Again, all depends on the player count. I think the box had 45 minutes a player, something like that. That being said, the player count, I just want to talk about it for 1 second here. I think the game will play a lot better at 4 players than at 2. 3 is probably alright, because I can already foresee it in my head that the awesome interactions or the puzzly nature of the game, or better yet, the interaction you can have in the game at 4 players is much more engaging than at 2 players. Just to give you a random example, like you can have one player run down a hallway to sort of make a robot, make a beeline towards that hallway, so that, and then have another player like run behind them into a different room and dive in. So it can cause some really cinematic, puzzly, make yourself seem smart moments, type of things. And that's why I say it'll probably play better or be more engaging at a bigger player count. Although I can also foresee if the sort of mat or the floor stays the same at no matter the player count, it might be too congested at 4 compared to 2. But we'll see when the game comes out. There was no real demos at 4 players, so you can only see it at 2. Okay, so now that's all great stuff, good stuff. Let's just talk about some of the bad things that I saw, or some of the things that I would definitely change or fix. Just a couple of hits here right off the top. This whole network board on the right, I know they keep mentioning in a lot of videos that it's not tacked on, it's not tacked on, but honestly, if you watch any of the playthroughs or anything, even their playthrough, the only time anyone ever went on the wireless network was either when their objective said to do something on it, or basically when they had to wait in a room and they had nothing else to do, then they say, okay, let's go on the network. Okay, so that's the pure definition of tacked on. When you're not actually actively doing anything on the network, you're basically just doing other things, and when you don't want to waste your actions, then you just go on the network. All right, but keep in mind, maybe that's because they were all playing the sort of the same bad guy and mission, so maybe playing a different corporation will actually make you go on the network a bit more, but that's what I saw in their demos. All right, another quick thing here is I don't really like the whole transmitter following you around type of thing. To me, it makes it feel like an escort mission, and the worst thing ever in a video game is any escort mission ever. All right. As soon as there's an escort mission, everyone just sighs and bows their head, and it almost feels like an escort mission here. It was probably a way when they're designing the game to sort of, if you roll really high and you have extra action points, you can sort of waste it on the robot to move him around and do some things. But to me, it seems like just an extra piece that everyone can move with any of their action points. So yeah, all right, that's just the transmitter, and that's all I'm going to say about that. And I think the last thing I'm just going to mention here is, I think overall though, there might be a bit too much luck for me in the game for me to feel comfortable playing this or backing it. I'll just give you a couple of examples here. I'm just gonna list a few. There's this really bad mechanism. It's the roll a die when you enter a room mechanism. It might be the worst mechanism I've seen in a long time for any game. I think it adds way too much randomness to the game. I'll just give you an example. If you go into a storage room with 2 dice, you can easily just get 2 guards appear in that room, or 2 upgraded terminals, or a crate and an upgraded terminal, and the difference between the two is night and day. It's not even close. If you playing the game and you constantly roll good things in rooms, it's gonna make the game so much easier compared to rolling a bunch of guards, because our guards you have to work around. It's much harder to get around them, but if you're just getting free crates and free terminals and double upgrades from terminals as you're going, the game's going to be way too easy. All right, that's sort of way too much randomness in one mechanism in the game that I don't really like at all. All right, the other one that I saw, it was just a couple of examples, but those terminal cards, some of them are way too powerful compared to others. There was one of them that reduced your threat, which is one of the ways that you lose and makes the game harder. But you can reduce your threat by like the whole thing or even half. You just roll all your dice and you can reduce your threat by half of that value. So for example, if you roll 15 and you're on 10 threat, which is dangerous, you're about to lose, well, you just go back 7 threat on the track, which is insane. That's like just like gaining 4 or 5 rounds of freedom almost. It's just really too swingy, and I don't think that it belongs in there. And the last thing that I just really want to mention about luck is, I think the AP system needs to be worked on a little. There's something that didn't work for me. I know I'm more of a Eurogamer in heart, and it's been 10 years now that we don't do roll resolution anymore. That's just not a thing that happens. We roll dice, we see what we get, and then we puzzle it out and sort of enact our plans. This one is, you want to do this, and then you got to roll dice to see if it happens, especially your movement. It drove me crazy when there was an example where the guy had to move 4 or 5, so he's like, okay, let me roll these 2 orange dice and 1 yellow die, or 2 yellow die, and I'll probably get 4 or 5. And he rolled and he got like a 2, so you had to waste another action to move. So it's almost like adding a roll and move element to the game. I wasn't a huge fan of that AP system, but the whole action system with the Burncycle was cool. So it's sort of merging something that I loved and something I didn't love together. All right, so those are overall my thoughts on the game. All right, so a lot of good things, a lot of bad things. Let me know what you think below. I really want people to chime in here with their thoughts, and if maybe I didn't think of something, Feel free to write it below. I could be wrong on some points here. I think that's the only game I'll cover today because this was a very long video. So we'll see you in the next one. Later.